gentlemen, I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have Speed. Yes, we have Speed, the fastest tank in the game, the RU251. And yeah, it's a nice tank, and it's very difficult to play this tank because of course it is a HE magnet. People will shoot HE at you, so you've got to use your speed to get around the map, and your speed is your armor. Your speed is your armor with this tank. So what is the tank like, and is the tank worth grinding? So as you can see with the armor, 25 millimeters on your turret is the best that you're gonna get in this thing, which is not a lot. You could be HE'd pretty much anywhere on your tank from any tank. Obviously some tanks in tier 7 may struggle, but most tanks you're going to come up against will be able to HE you anywhere. So you've got to use that mobility. You've got to use that speed. If you're in the open and you can see a tank looking at you, especially if it's a big tank, maybe just try to turn your tank and hope for the best that they hit your tracks or they only splash you. So yeah, it's a very difficult tank to play. So the DPM is pretty solid at 2,571. Now we are running this with calibrated shells, and I will talk about that and why you should be running it with calibrated shells in a second. So your reload is 5.25. Which isn't bad at all. Your penetration is 189,275 with your heat when you're running it with calibrated shells. And the reason that you should run it with calibrated shells is because it has 112 HE pen. That is one of the best in tier 8s, especially for a light tank. You do have the M41 Bulldog as well, which has this, the German Bulldog, that has pretty much the same gun as the RU251. So if you're coming up against tier 7s, do try to HE their rear. And even some tier 8s and some tier 9s, if you get behind them, do try to use that HE because you will up your DPM if you can high roll, because you're doing 270 damage per every HE shot. If you're not using HE with AP, you're doing 225, and heat you're doing 190. So you can up that DPM dramatically. Aim time is very good at 2.8, and the gun dispersion is 0.326. You do have a nice 8 degrees of gun, you do have a nice 10 degrees of gun depression with a top speed of 80 kilometers per hour, which, as I've said, makes this tank the fastest tank in Blitz. So how do you play this tank? I mean, to be honest, I'm not the best at driving the RU251. Sometimes it is a struggle, but yeah, it's still an enjoyable tank. It really is an enjoyable tank once you master it. Once you know just how to play it, it does become a lot better. And you've got to bear in mind that anybody that you come up against is going to penetrate you, and anybody that comes up against you is going to aim for you. Unless you are sat next to a Borzik, and of course they probably will go for the Borzik because it has the big gun. Yeah, people are going to focus you and they will be able to penetrate you. So do bear that in mind. So we're going to see here, I mean, I'm going to try and get the shot on the Pajero. He's in the middle and he is not going to last very long, and he's just got absolutely wrecked. He's going to find himself in a position where he just can't get out of that position. So I'm just going to wait for him, and I am going to get this shot in and bounce, but he does get taken out by our Rudy. So now I've got the Pantera, has no armor, and I've got the RU251. And as you can see, I mean, we can HE his turret. As soon as he turns his turret, we can HE him. And if you come up against other tanks, yes, everybody is going to penetrate you, like this RU251 here. I can if he's not going to shoot HE at me, you can't quite, well, you can actually HE his his turret. But if he's not going to use that HE, because people forget about the HE on this tank. So if I'm going to come up against this RU-251, I'm going to beat him all day long because I'm using HE. He's not using HE. So my DPM, as long as I penetrate, is going to be massively more than his. So I will be able to take care of him. So obviously I did get shot now. There's 3 tanks here that are a one-shot. So I'm happy to sacrifice my hit points to take these 3 guys out. So there's the one with the big gun, there's the speed gun, and now the one with the auto reloading tank I do want to clear, but unfortunately I do miss that shot. The T-34-100 coming behind, and I think I'm not going to take him out. So there's now just 3 tanks left. I mean, I've got 1600 damage. I haven't done too much at all, but we've done our job. We've still done our job holding this ridge here against the enemy team, and we've managed to master that ridge, and because of that, we've managed to get an easy victory. We got 1 tank down. The enemy have only got 2 tanks left. One of them is very low hit points, and I'm not quite sure where the other heavy tank is at the moment, but I'm sure we're going to find him very, very soon. And in fact, I believe he's actually AFK. So we are going to get a bit of free damage here, and well, it's the Annihilator there. 1500 hit points. Now, I could use my mobility to get behind him and use HE, but because there's 5 other tanks, I'm thinking that by the time I get there, I'm probably not going to be able to get him anyway. And I only managed to get 2 shots into him, which is very, very unfortunate. So it's one of those tanks that you either love it or hate it. You either love it or hate it, and it all depends on your play style and yeah, how you play the tanks, because as I've said, like the Leopard 1, which is my favorite tank in the game, it really isn't an easy play. It's very, very difficult, and you've just got to get into the habit that you've got to play like you're on 1 hit point. You've always got to play these tanks like you're on 1 hit point, that you're a one shot. And once you start learning that, you will become a lot better in the tank. Like I said, you have to really use the mobility as its armor. Get away from the tanks. You're the quickest tank in the game. You've got 80 kilometers per hour. Use that. You know, what's the point being the quickest tank in the game if you're just going to sit here like this on this ridge? Yes, you do have 10 degrees of gun depression, but the 10 degrees of gun depression doesn't really matter in a tank like this, because you haven't got a decent turret. I mean, gun depression is really, really good because you don't have to expose a lot of your tank, but it's also really good in tanks that have a strong turret. I mean, here, he easy penetrates me, and you're not going to get any bounces whatsoever unless you are very, very, very lucky. In fact, I did get a bounce. I don't think it's this game because there's not a Borzik. A Borzik tried shooting me and I managed to bounce because he hit my track. So occasionally you can get the very lucky bounces, which is why I said at the beginning, if you have a tank in front of you that has a big gun, or any tank really, but mostly any tanks with big guns, because they're going to be able to do a massive amount of damage to you, and a lot of tanks will be able to almost one-shot you. If a smasher comes in front of you, he's going to be able to do 1200 damage, and other tanks like the Borzik or the Waffles in tier 9, or any tank with a big gun, the T-30s. So if you do come across a tank that is staring right at you, then just try to turn, you know, because there is always hope that he will hit your track, especially if you're moving, because they're going to try and aim at a certain point of your tank, and if you're constantly moving, then it's going to be more difficult to get. So make sure you put that technique in, and you might start to do better. So here we're just going to deal with this 110 who is capping the base. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to get more points if I do take shots off and reset the cap, and he is an easy target at the moment. So I'm hiding from that D44. I'm hiding for God, because he will be able to kill me, and as soon as he's shot, fine, I'm going to take this shot into him, and we do almost clear him, and the WZ-110 is now dead. So it's now a 6 versus 3. I believe I'm actually going to die this game because I get a bit greedy. So at the moment now, it is a 5 versus 2. I know there is a Scorpion G around here, and for me, that is a juicy target. The Scorpion G is a juicy target. I'll be able to HE pretty much anywhere on that tank, so of course I do want to go for him, but I do get shot from this Titan 54, but we do get one final shot into him, and I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, I know he's there, and I know he's looking at me, but because it's a 5 versus 1, I wait for him to hide, and then I sort of then go, and you know, he's staring right at me, but in fact, he's not staring right at me. I got it wrong. So we do manage to get a HE shot, and we are actually going to kill him. I thought I was going to die. That must be a different game, but yeah, it's a very fun tank to play when you're playing it correctly. It is a very fun tank to play and definitely worth grinding. And yeah, just be careful because people will focus you because you've got no armor. But as I've said, try to use that HE because you do have the high HE pen and you can penetrate more things than you actually know. So let me know your thoughts on the RU251, the speed of Blitz, the fastest tank in the game. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I'm meadsy69 and I will catch you all soon. Bye bye. With